Welcome to my store. By Merlin's beard. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. Welcome back. Oh, but it is good to see you. Well, I hope you like what I've done with the place. What am I drinking? Lintry and red. Firewater. But that's what I'll be drinking this time of night. Oh, it really is good to see you. How are you, my friend? No, of course it's never too late for you. And before we start, you can't spend a penny in this shop. Pretty much everything I have, including the place itself, is because of you and that tip you left me last time. So if there's anything that you want, you needn't but ask. Absolutely not, I won't hear of it. Well, as always, your timing is perfect, my friend. Wait, before we get started, I'm drinking a single because, of course, I'm working tomorrow, but I'll pour you a double. I warn you, it's as delicious as it is strong. No, I don't. Well, with the last time you were here, wrap your lips around that, my friend. Well, since the last time you were here, obviously with the money you left me, I decided that I would try and give back a bit more to the community. I bought a new place, I'm so glad you found me. I bought a new place, and now the markups I have on each item that I sell is, well, I'm almost working at a loss. I break even. But I'm essentially at this point just a middleman, without any surcharge. I buy in from suppliers and vendors now, but almost within an 800-mile radius. Business is going very, very well. At least I'm very busy. And I'm offering goods and services for, well, as little as humanly possible, really. Speaking of which, I just had a shipment of spices in. I've had a little sample tray. I'll share some with you. Now, as you might or might not be aware, the majority of spices in the old world came from way down south. And a lot of the supply lines after the quakes were completely interrupted or destroyed entirely. So for me to have a sample table, of 4 very rare spices, I'm the only one that's got them. That's never changed. I'll walk you through them, and then we'll break some bread and dip it into the oil in the center, and we can try each one. And for dessert, I've got some sticky oat syrupy little cakes cut into little squares. Delightful. Oh, the story of Emma. You always seem to have a penchant for the heartstring pulling type stories, didn't you? Well, it only happened next door, so I'll indulge. Absolutely. Now, let me go around the table. The little white powder you have here, it's actually called garlic salt. Now, garlic is a herb that we can't really grow up here too well. Again, it gets shipped from the south. It's mixed with some Himalayan salt, which is again very, very rare and only recently been acquired, and they're now mining it fairly regularly way down south. A little merchant called Ishmael brings it to me. Lovely, lovely man. Very, very brave. I wouldn't fancy his path. Just shy of 803 miles he treks. Pony and cart. 2 ponies. He takes those spices all the way from way, way down to they haven't even named the zones yet, but I digress, my friend. garlic salt. This is thyme. Thyme, again, we can't grow here because the climate's just not warm enough, even after. Well, we certainly couldn't grow it before, but even after the quakes and the plates, the sun's just not quite warm enough for us. It's quite an earthy taste. Delicious, though. Goes wonderful with chicken. Although it's only been, I don't know how many years since I've tasted chicken, but I've been promised there's a little farm not 500 miles from here. He's looking to start breeding chickens. I don't know. You hear these stories sometimes, but I'll wait and see. Now this was a very popular spice way back when. It's called paprika. It's quite a bite to it. Goes great in a little bit of soup, actually. Really spices it up, gives it a bit of depth and a bit of flavour. A bit of life, perhaps. And the last one, that's rosemary. Rosemary's of the same family as thyme, I think, if I remember way back when I was a child learning my biology. But the taste is lighter, headier. Very, very pleasant. Now the idea here, my friend, I have some freshly baked bread rounds. You tear a little bit off. And this oil you see in the centre, these are little fruits, come from an olive tree. These little fruits or vegetables, I assume they're called fruits because they're growing on a tree, but they are pressed down into oil that's released by these olives, making it the perfect oil. Dip a little bit of that in there, then a tiny little dip into paprika. For somebody like yourself who's maybe never tasted spices before, well, here, take a bread round, tear it into little pieces. Please help yourself. It's not really sensible for me to be giving oil away, at the very least, so willy-nilly, but what can I say? There's nothing quite like seeing somebody's face who's never even tasted fresh bread before, combining that with the delicate and robust flavours of some of these herbs. It's magnificent. Truly. The Lentry in red washes it down perfectly. So, the story of Emma. Well, as you've probably come to realise, life can be quite bleak now. And sometimes a little bit of good news catches and spreads like wildfire, which is great and it's important. But it also speaks volumes as to the temperature and the state of things. Now, we're in a little settlement called Greenton. Now, I chose Greenton to set up my wares for two reasons. One, it's not close enough to a river or a direct water source that can never become too large should it ever prosper. And two, there's no gold mines, no silver mines that we know of in the area. And again, it tempers the kinds of personalities you find being drawn to a settlement in the first place. Now, there's my store. Immediately to my right hand side is Paul, the carpenter. He's from the old world too, from before the disasters. He used to run a sorting office for letters and parcels. Remarkable man. Worked every day of his life for his family. And after the disasters, he found his way into carpentry. He makes the most incredible benches and tables. This very table here is some of Paul's work. And his wife, Diane's the town nurse, town doctor, not medically trained, but she's got that mother's love and that mother's wisdom. She just knows how to fix every little thing. She's lovely. Anyway, they had a daughter, Emma. They had a son in the olden times, but, well, let's skip past that part. They survived in the new world, and they had Emma. Emma's the sweetest little girl. She comes in here once a week with her mum's little list. She picks up some bread, sometimes little cubes of chocolate if I've got it. And Paul makes a great living there. They live, as far as our standards are concerned, very well, wealthy. But it's strong. Anyway, Emma was one of these girls that 8 years old. And bearing in mind the carpentry shops next door in their houses, but 3 houses after that, there's a little gap between the carpentry and the other 4 houses. We built a little play park for the kids, some swings and a little sand pit. It's not much, but you see the smile on the kids' faces when they're there. Anyway, from the ages of about 6, I think, Emma was coming to my old store and now this new store. Always with a huge smile on her face, light in her eye. "Morning, Raymond," she used to say. Such a sweet little thing. Truly, sweet little thing. Anyway, she came in and picked up her loaf of bread. It was a tiger loaf, I remember. It's a spicy kind of bread. Very rarely does the baker make it because it's quite expensive to make, but it's delicious. It goes so well with soup. She picked up a tiger loaf, 2 apples, a little jug of milk. "Thank you, Mr. Raymond," she said. "Keep the change," she always said. It wasn't about a penny, but the happiness in her eye knowing that she could give something was, again, it's the little things sometimes. Now, here at Greenton, as I said, we're never going to get too large because we're too far from a direct water source. We have to walk about 800 meters to the river. We don't have a spring as of yet, at least. However, Farndale, just a little less than a mile away, sits on the riverbank, just in a diagonal. Because of where it was situated, coupled with them finding an iron mine, it started to flourish and attracted a lot of people. Now, smaller settlements seem to be somewhat immune, at least so far, to bandits and raids because it's not worth the trouble. The risk-reward doesn't make any sense. But Arndale, well, it wasn't quite so lucky. And one night, these 5 horsemen, they rode into I don't think it's fair to call it a city, because at least not my impersonation. My impressions of a city are far larger, but if we're a town, then they're by no doubt a city. They rode into the city and made off with some gold and some silver and I think a couple of trinkets. Nothing worth losing your life over, but I guess everyone has a different value on their lives. Anyway, little Emma was just leaving my store, past her dad's carpentry shop. And as she was walking past the park, she saw little James. James wasn't but 5, maybe 6. And he was in the sandpit, like he always was. She went to the swings. Just 2 metal chains with a little bit of rubber hanging underneath it. Well, we didn't even have rubber, we had a little wooden board. But, well, she hadn't been gone but 2 minutes. And I heard a sound of hooves. Now, usually it's Riddick. Riddick rides by on his horse maybe twice a day when he's out hunting. He rides out to the forest and tethers his horse, does some hunting and comes back. I heard a rumble of the hooves, but then I heard a second, third and fourth, maybe even 5. And they were galloping fast. They were moving fast. No, I walked out quite leisurely. By the time I got just past Paul's carpentry, they were but 100 meters away. The top of the rider at the front was a little emblem. It was a sun doused in blood. The dirty sons were a ruthless lot of 5 bandits, well known in these parts. And they were galloping towards this little park, trying to escape who I assume was their pursuers from Farmdale. And it's difficult really to explain how quickly time passes. Now, they were only, as I said, 100 meters away, and but before I realised it, they were not but 50. Now, the way that the park sits, there's swings, a little slide, and there's the sandpit, then there's the carpentry. The only through path would be right over the sandpit. Little James was sat there terrified. I ran to him. I had my stick, of course, and I was never going to make it. Little Emma, on a swing, even at 8 years old, saw the danger. She recognised the situation for what it was. And instead of standing stock still like any any other person might. She ran to James, and she pushed him out the way, leaving herself in the path of the leading horse. They were riding single file. The first horse struck her, bore her down, and within but a second they were passed and run through. I ran to her. I got to her and she was breathing, but barely. She was covered in blood. But she didn't cry. She looked at me. By now, people had started to gather. She looked at me and the first thing she said, what it was, she said, "Is James okay?" 8 years old. Just saved another child's life. As it transpired, she'd had 2 broken ribs and a punctured lung. One of the fractured ribs had actually punctured one of her lungs. She could barely speak. And that was her first thought. Isn't it the most remarkable thing? An 8-year-old. The future of our world. And with all the crazy, horrible stories that you hear, diseases, the poverty, the hunger, that there's still good inside us. Now, at this point, I don't know how long she'd been gone from the store for, but normally she's from the store and straight home. Her mum had come looking for her, maybe hearing the horses, I'm not sure. And the look on Diane's face. Whatever terror I felt at seeing her being mowed over like that, it wasn't but 1,000th of the terror in Diane's eyes. I have never seen a mother love like that. She ran to Emma, fell to her knees and examined her. Emma was coughing by this point. It wasn't a pretty sight. I assumed she was going to die. James was hysterical. He was crying. He wanted her to be okay. He even, at 6 years old, understood as well what had happened. They got her back to Diane's hospice. After being trampled by 5 horses, saving the life of a little child, Emma pulled through. She lived. She still comes to the store every day. Took her months to heal though. A long time. But she did. In her story, her little act of magnificent and immeasurable strength and heroism spread. People started talking about the little Emma that could. It's a reference to an old child's tale about a little train. You won't know what a train is, but... And it's stories like that that give us hope. And James. The way he looks at her, I tell you. Well, sorry you asked for the tale of Emma. How did the spices go down? You finished your bread, so I assumed you liked it. Good. On to the next and final course. Now, these little sweet treats, my friend. Well, just take a sniff of these. You can smell that, right? That strength of the scent is it's a syrup, a very sweet sugary syrup. Terribly expensive to make. given the rarity of sugar. But listen to this. They're so moist and sticky, but they taste divine. I promise you. Wash down, put a little fire water. Oh, but it's good to be alive. Please, take as many as you like. Their base is oats, rolled and crushed oats, mixed with a syrup. Maybe a little bit of something else. I don't bake them, I just buy them from the baker. But they're so tasty. You take as many as you like, my friend. Everything here is for you. There's been a lot of talk about what the future might look like. Plans, and I think eventually Farmdale might encompass and include Greenton, which I can't really complain about. I liked having the separate, that gap. They have a fresh spring as well as the river running through their towns. But as I said, when a town becomes affluent, it attracts all kinds of personalities. We got a flavour of that with Emma and James and the bandits. Coincidentally, the bandits were actually hunted down. Dirty Sons. There aren't many well-known bandit groups, but they're becoming more and more prevalent, I'm afraid. But it's concerns for another day. There's always little bits of good news. As I said, we've now got a direct access route to the southern zones. Brave, brave people travelling that road. I'm too old for that nonsense now. Even in my younger days, I didn't relish the thought. But now the roads are, well, no caravans travel without at least 10 guards. Unless they're absolutely crazy. Of course, when you're hiring guards, you're sharing profits, and merchants at heart, so we are. I can't tell you how good it is to see you, though. And I need to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for how kind you were last time. You've changed my life and the lives of people at Greenton and some at Farmdale. As I said, I'm selling everything now at cost price. I just do it because it makes me happy. I love sharing my words with people. Especially these little flapjack oatcake things. Absolutely delicious, aren't they? I can feel myself getting fat just thinking about them, but life's too short sometimes. Especially now, to be worrying about the little details. Thank you for coming round. No, I understand. You're a busy person, places to be, people to see. I understand. Please do finish your fire water, though. You'll sleep well that night, I promise you. It's difficult to come by. I never drink it in more than singles. It's some kind of crop they take and they ferment them in these giant or casks. I'm not sure the entire process he goes through. He's always so busy when he comes up. Everyone's desperate for this stuff. Alcohol, even back before the quake, alcohol was always big business. But now it's worth more than gold. Anyway, my friend, it's so good to see you. Please promise me you won't wait as long next time. Whenever you want to come past for some food and a little catch up with the news, you know where I'll be. And I'll always be here. I don't have any plans to leave anytime soon, one way or the other. Take care, my friend. I'll be wishing for you and hoping for you. Goodbye.